I read light novels. Let's talk about it.
That man and his manga.
Hello and welcome to That Man, That Is Me Merchandise, and today we are looking at The Hero Laughs While Walking the Path of Vengeance a Second Time. That's right, this is, well, it's a light novel, as you can probably imagine, and it's a light novel with an extremely long title. You know what that means? Isekai. So, as you can imagine from the title and from this cover, this is about a young man who is reincarnated into another world, and we join him at the end of his quest. That's right, he is just about to defeat the Demon Lord, and, well, actually he's just been betrayed by the princess and pretty much everybody else. I wonder why. He is then given a further opportunity in essentially what is called another life, or, well, to put in more obvious terms, New Game Plus. So he is given a yet another further chance at, well, doing things over. So what does he do? Well, he gets revenge on all of those people who have betrayed him, and the first 50 or so pages he basically brutally attacks and tortures the princess. That's right, he brutally attacks and tortures the princess, and it goes very much in detail. So I'm going to be honest, this one has so much edge. I'm recovering from the paper cuts. It is, it is a tale of vengeance, and it's something that you kind of already know going in. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the way this one was portrayed. It was kind of a little bit too much for me. So the hero continues on and he acquires a slave. And of course, with this being an isekai, he realises that slavery is wrong. So of course he buys one and pretty much puts them under his spell and has them join his quest for revenge. We are given a backstory for this character, and she's essentially then drugged by the main character and goes and kills a bunch of other slaves, because remember, slavery is wrong. So, talking about the characters, if I'm pretty honest, with Volume 1 we get about 3 characters that's kind of noteworthy. The main character, the slave girl, and the princess. And if I'm going to be perfectly honest, all of them are given pretty good reasons for what they do. Now, one of the things I didn't like about this particular volume, and I will get into a little bit more depth, is for the main character, his backstory is actually at the end of the volume. So I kind of felt at the very beginning that, well, he's a horrible person. The first thing he does is he tortures the princess, and he does all of these things where he basically tortures and kills people. Yeah. If you're that way inclined pretty much at all, and other people who are your friends kind of know that, they're not going to really want to keep you around, are they? And to be honest, I kind of was siding with the princess and the people who betrayed him for quite some time, and from what I've heard of people online, they kind of feel the same way. A lot of people kind of drop this very early on because the first few chapters are pretty gruesome, and yeah, but stick with it. What I can say about this series is that the main character and, well, the slave girl, they are given fleshed out backstories to make you understand what's going on. It's not kind of just, oh yeah, you know, he was betrayed, he's going to go kill everybody because, hey, that's kind of what I want to write in a weird kind of title. No, we actually are given reasoning and understanding of what's gone on here. Now, I feel maybe it's a little bit extreme in some ways, especially when I've kind of also read Teen Moon Empire, another series that kind of done something very similar with the plot, but had a nice resolution, or tried to have a nice resolution. Yeah. So, yeah, one thing I can say is the characters are given enough backstory to kind of make you understand what they have done. Now, The thing I liked about this, well, I've got to be honest, this particular series wasn't really for me. But what I can say is that this series is honest. It's absolutely honest, because what you see on this cover with this title is what you get. And you know what? I can't fault it for that. Originally I actually did this video. I did this video a few weeks ago and I absolutely ripped it a new one. Now I kind of said at the end, well, it actually does what you are seeing. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I was sent this by Yen Press as a review copy. This isn't something I went out and bought. But to be honest, it's not something I probably would have went out and bought. I mean, I know from the cover and I know from the title what this is going to have. And pretty much talking about anything, me going, oh, you know, it's got torture in. And you kind of like, yeah, kind of expected it. And you know what? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a very easy read. I read this in the space of an hour or two. Like I said, the backstories for each character was pretty well done. The amount of in-depth in terms of writing things was also well done. I mean, it wasn't to my taste, but it was a very well written if you're into that kind of thing. Honestly, it's a weird situation to be in. It's kind of like me going, oh, you know, I don't like ecchi, but actually these drawings are pretty well done. And it's kind of the same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like me buying Monster Musume and going, oh, yeah, it's got boobs in it. I can't really fault it for that, and to be honest, for its strengths, I mean, it is pretty much advertised as a throwaway edgy series, and it does its job. I can't really see many other series that kind of do what is advertised on the tin. You know exactly what you're getting into looking at this. There's nothing really hidden in there. Yeah, it might be a little bit more graphic than you might be expecting, but you know what? It's honest. And again, for what did I dislike about this series? Well, it just wasn't my cup of tea. But as a reviewer, I mean, at the end of the day, I can see, yeah, it's a bit too graphic. It's a bit kind of weird. I don't really like the whole fact that the main character goes, slavery is wrong, and then buys and pretty much drugs up a slave. But it's what I expected going in. Again, it's one of these things, it's a positive and a negative. I mean, at the end of the day, I got it as a review copy. I wouldn't have bought this, but I kind of knew what I was getting into. Now, for another thing I disliked was the fact that the hero's backstory comes at the end. So the last 100 or so pages kind of focuses on the hero's backstory, and I know from speaking to other people, most people didn't even get that far. Most people dropped it. But, you know, at the end of the day, it kind of resolves things, and I suppose if you had the backstory up front, you might have lost a little bit of interest. I don't know. It kind of one of those things. It's one of those things, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I personally felt it was a little bit bad thing because, quite frankly, if it wasn't for a review purpose and I bought this or borrowed it, I wouldn't have gotten that far. I wouldn't have gotten halfway through this, and I think a lot of people did as well. I think a lot of people just kind of got halfway through and just went, this isn't for me, I'm going to drop it. And yeah, it's a shame because the backstory for the hero is pretty darn good, and the translator who actually translated this particular title into English did reach out and say it kind of, you know, there's a lot of stuff in here and it kind of is pretty much all explained. There's nothing that's kind of just random and kind of over the top and just outrageous about it. There's a lot of like stuff in here that kind of, it all makes sense to the hero and it all is revealed. So you know what, it is a little bit of a negative from me, and if I'm perfectly honest, like I said, it's not something I would have went out and bought, but I can't fault it for that. At the end of the day, again, it's like me going, ooh, it's got boobs in it. I'm talking about an ecchi series. You guys already know what you guys knew just from looking at the cover, looking from the title, whether or not you want to read this series. and pretty much nothing I see is going to kind of dissuade you or kind of otherwise. But I would say try and give it a chance. The negatives, like, not really negatives because it's stuff that I expected going in. The positives, again, it's honest. It does what it says on the tin. I can't argue with that because it's, again, it's like me. I keep seeing it. Oh, this Gundam series has mechs in it. Oh, this Shonen series has teenagers fighting. Ugh. It's just one of those things. It's part of what you kind of get, and you know what? There's a decent series in there. It's edgy as out, but at the end of the day, if I was 13, 14, wanted an edgy series about revenge, yeah, I'd absolutely go for this. So, well, in summary, this is a title that I have a lot of very mixed feelings for. It's not content that I really would particularly enjoy. I'm probably not going to buy Volume 2, but it is exactly as it says on the tin. It is exactly what you might want in an edgy betrayal torture series. And if that's not what you want, you're never going to pick it up anyway. And I can't fault a series for doing what it said on the tin. It's one that I think that, yeah, if you are intrigued by the title, pick it up, give it its chance. And if you are somewhat into it, if you have started on the off chance, keep at it. Keep trying with it, because quite frankly, the end result was somewhat rewarding. And I think it's one of those series, it's never going to win an award, it's never going to be one that's going to be highly praised, but it does its job, and quite frankly, that's all you can ask of a series. I'm sorry I've been so much flip-flopping about this one because, yeah, like I've said many times, I can't fault it for what it is. I can't praise it for what it is because it's not something I would personally like, but I do appreciate that they at least try to do what they said. They stick to what they wanted to write, rather than just starting with something and then dropping in a ton of fan service, which might be in Volume 2 for all I know. But that's just my opinion. Thank you to Yen Press for sending me a copy of this. It's not a series I would have ever read otherwise, and I think that it might be a series that you guys might or might not enjoy. And if you did enjoy this, go check out the other series I've got on the channel. Plenty more light novels, plenty more content. And if you did enjoy it, leave a like. See you in the next chapter.